I am a Gen X kid. Grew up in the 80s and 90s, grew up in arcades, grew up loving arcades, and grew up finding arcade machines just in general fascinating. I loved playing them, but just the way they even looked, the designs and the art that went into them, and just all the colors and the sounds, that to me is the most amazing thing about arcade machines. Now that I'm older, I would love to own an arcade machine, but I don't have the room nor the money to do either, so the closest thing I can do is maybe have parts of an arcade machine. You know, with a little bit of a nostalgia in my life that I can hang up on a wall or something. I used to go through eBay and look for things and try to find little pieces, and then I found that there are companies that make the replacement stickers for old arcades. And that's when I found this, which is the Gauntlet decal. And it's awesome. I love it. I got actually one for Eric as well, because we're both huge fans of the Gauntlet arcade machine growing up. And there's no way in heck I would ever be able to even come close to purchasing, have the room or the money to buy an actual authentic Gauntlet machine. But that's cool. But when I got it and I hung it up, I just always used to think, like, it's awesome, but wouldn't it be cool if it had, like, the buttons on it and the joysticks, and then that hung on the wall, like it almost like a piece of the arcade machine where the joysticks and the buttons were there, and you were hung that up. I just think that would be amazing. What would be even cooler would be maybe if it made sound, and that's when I started thinking that maybe I can do that. So I went online and I found a Miss Pac-Man. So the idea is I wanted to put it on something that could be hung on the wall. These are the arcade buttons. They do make shorter ones. I did figure that out after, of course, buying these standard ones. But either way, they would stick out. Even the shorter ones would have stuck out a little bit past here, so that means I would have had to have basically, you know, built some kind of box like that, and then put a cover on it and blah blah blah, and then when you hung it up, it would have been it would have been fine, but it'd be bulky. So I was trying to figure out a way to do this where it will just, everything on it will work on this piece of wood. And I think I figured something out. And that's what this video is for, because I'm winging it. So as of now, I have this wood. Got the sticker. Could put it on this. Like that. And if I can get it to just be on this one piece and hang it up and get it to be functioning, that would be awesome. So that's what I've been working on. So because I want to do that, I've been trying to figure out, I basically knew I was going to have to cut one of these, and luckily I ordered extras so I could do that. These come apart like this. There's a spring in there. You know, it makes it go up and down. And then that goes in there. So that's the button. That's the actual button. That's the outside of the button. So I took that out. I cut the button part off, this part off of the actual button, and I did the same thing with this. I cut this short enough that it'll fit in the wood. It'll fit in there like a button, like a fake button, a false button. Well, one of them will be a false button. The other one, is a whole nother ball of wax with the one that I need to be functioning. But I cut that off. See, I cut the top off, and I got this. So that's it cut. This is the other one. So this was the ring cut off the top, and this is the button. I just glued them. This one I glued together because this one isn't going to be functioning. So I just glued it, and it will go, that one will go on the bottom because it's not going to be used. That's going to go like that. Oh, it's going to go like that. And that'll be one of the buttons. I got that done, so that's something. The big problem has been that the top button is the one I want to actually make a functioning button because of my idea. So let me go get that. What I thought was, this will be a false button. That's the false button. But this one, when you push it, you push that button in, it did this. Push the button. Yeah! This is one of those card sound things. So you know how sometimes you can buy those more expensive birthday cards or Christmas cards or whatever, and you can open it up and it plays a song, or you can record a song even. That's what this is. They sell them online. This one was about $21. You can get them for cheaper, but I kind of, especially for my first attempt, wanted to get one that had easy features to figure out. It's just a sticker. You just stick this onto whatever, and there's actually a plug, a little, you see, it's a little USB plug. Plug it right into there. USB plug on the other end, and you could load the sounds in. So I found original arcade Miss Pac-Man sounds, you know, isolated them into little files, MP3s, loaded them onto here through the port, and then every time you push the button, you get Miss Pac-Man sounds. Sounds easy enough, right? You just put the button and stuff, but that's the problem. It's because once you cut the top off one of these, it no longer stays connected, because everything that holds this together with the spring is all at the bottom. So once you cut the top off, it's just two pieces of plastic that don't want to stay together. So I've been trying to figure out a way to not only make a functioning button so that you hit the button and it makes the sound, but I also have to make a functioning button but also have it hit this. This is the plunger, I guess if you want to call it. This is the button on it that makes the sound. It has to click that. And that has to go inside of this hole. The problem I've been having is this is going to have to go on the back side, which I'm going to have to chisel out. I'll talk about that later, but basically this has to go on this side, and then this button has to flip over and face that way. By the way, I would just also like to say that I don't know what I'm doing. Like, the whole reason I'm posting this is not to teach anybody how to do this. It's to maybe show people that that you don't have to know exactly what you're doing to try something, because I have no idea. I've never done anything like this. I've never worked with electronics. I am going to be hitting up my friend Tom Torrey, about the sound and maybe adding extra stuff to it down the road and all that stuff, because I have no idea. I'm going to be chiseling, which you would think as a carpenter, like, you must chisel. The carpenters don't often. I'm not like a furniture maker. I'm a union carpenter, so I'm not using chisels very often. The buttons and the joysticks and all that stuff and cutting them and all that. This is all, I am winging this. I had an idea. I thought it would be cool. And I'm going to see if I can get it to work. So that's why it's being posted. So leave comments. Please feel free to leave comments with advice, or maybe telling me that I'm doing it the wrong way, or that there would be an easier way to do something. I value constructive criticism. I am all ears, and hopefully I'll see the comments before I do something inefficiently. And then the button that you push is going to have to hit that. So what I've come up with so far is this. So right now, what I did was I had a roofing nail, common roofing nail, See, it's in there, see? And I just cut it with a pair of pliers, and I super glued it into the middle. So hopefully, as of now, that will be the thing that goes through this hole and push down on the button every time you push it. Oh yeah, it's so easy. Like, it's so simple, right? No, because I still have to find a way to keep the button to come back up. Like, you push it down and it comes back up. It stays up. You push it down and it goes back up. So I need something like a spring. I can't really get the spring to work with it properly. I tried cutting the spring that was inside. You know, I'm obviously always trying to save some kind of money here, so I did try with the spring, like that, and then put it inside. One, you have to find a way to sort of get it to stay in there. So, I mean, I guess I could... One of the things, too, is that doesn't... With a spring... Oh, there you go. One of the things, too, is that the spring doesn't really ever want to sit. Because it gets cut, and when it's cut on an angle, it doesn't sit properly. It sort of sticks up in one. And I can kind of probably keep messing with it to fix it. But my biggest problem is... My biggest concern is with using a spring is... How do I get it to stay? How do I get it to stay... You know, super glue it? Could I have to figure out how to attach that? So one of my other ideas has been trying to use some kind of sponge material. Something like this. Something that's squishy, kind of flips back. This is I was using a sponge in the hat, like a house sponge I was cutting up, and that was doing okay, but I wanted to get something that was less porous. So this is like a pipe insulation. Keeps pipes warm under your house. I thought that would probably be good. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm thinking of cutting that, sticking it through here, and hopefully that will have the elasticity. And then what I'm thinking is, if I cut it, I can glue one end down and glue the other end to the wood, and then it's just attached. And then when you push it, it's not going to fall out. Like I said, I'm a little bit hesitant about the spring. I feel like the spring, you can't really glue that down. It also, I feel like it'll break off where sponge is more, fills up the space more. And I feel like that's what I'm going to attempt. Like I was saying before, the back side is where I want to put the sound, right? So this sound is going to go on the back, but I don't want... There's two things. I don't want this all exposed and just hanging on the wall. One, I just think it doesn't look finished, and two, then it's like when you go to hang it on the wall, it's not going to lay flush, right? Because this thing's going to be laying up against the wall. I just don't like that idea. So I'm going to carve, and that's, and the second reason is, if this button is here, this button is on the outside of the wood, and the pin comes, the button's going to go through and poke. There has to be something holding this button, so I have to carve it down into the wood, put it flush with this wood, and then put a piece of wood over the top that this can be attached to on the back, so when it pushes it. Why not just put the button on the inside and put the button on top of it, right? So this could, I could take this apart, put it through there, put this button on the inside, and then just have the button on top. One of the reasons I don't want to do that is I don't know if I like the idea of having it inside of there and then kind of gluing everything on top of it. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be that big of a problem. I've been toying with the idea. The other problem is if I take that button off, I'm pretty sure I have to solder it, and I have no idea how to solder. I never learned how to solder. I've been told by my friend Tom and other people that it's actually not that hard, but then I have to go buy a soldering gun and I have to learn and all that stuff before I can even attempt to do that. And I kind of figure if I'm going to be putting a back on this anyway, because I'm going to be putting the thing on here, I might as well just try and not have to learn how to solder and put it there and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, then I have to learn how to solder. And I want to learn how to solder anyway, because I have a feeling if I keep making these and then try to make them more complicated, I'm going to have to learn to do that anyway. But as of now, I'm looking to just see if I can get this done in a simpler fashion. So as of now, the button's going to go back here. I'm going to carve this out, which I'm going to chisel it out so that it'll be flush. And then all I'm going to do is put this piece of wood over it like that. That will cover up the sound. I'm going to have to drill some holes where the speaker is so the sound comes out. And I'm also going to cut a hole where the plug is because the battery's rechargeable, so if you need to recharge it or you want to load your other sounds or whatever, more sounds to it, you'd have access to it. So I'll just cut a hole there, leave that opened for access to the USB plug for recharging and adding extra sounds, and drill some holes in there for the sound to come out. And then it'll be finished like that. We wouldn't even notice hardly any extra wood on the back. And now I didn't build a box, and hopefully put a little hanger on there and then hang it on the wall. Hopefully I explained it enough to make it understandable. I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants right now because I really don't know if any of that's going to work, or I'm thinking about it as I'm talking. Like I'm even at this moment while I'm explaining it, the gears are going and I'm trying to figure out, will this work? Will this work? What's going to happen? When I start trying to put it all back together, I'll post another video. But for now, I'm going to go mess around with putting the sponge in the button, and I feel like that's probably not very exciting. Not exciting enough to post a video about. So when I come back and I start putting it all back together, doing the sound, I'll post another video. So, yeah. See you guys soon.